So what if I told you that you could earn an average of 5% or more cashback equivalent on every single thing you bought? This would be from groceries to dining to the utility bills that you pay for every single month, and even on small category purchases like home improvement projects. 5% cashback in your pocket sounds too good to be true, right? Well, there are people out there who settle for a standard 2% back, and even some out there who will accept even worse. But 5% is possible. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to make that happen. The question is, what are you willing to do to get 5% back on everything? We'll talk about all of that and exactly how to do it right now. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to build the ultimate 5% plus cashback or cashback equivalent setup on every single thing you buy. And I'll show you what the setup will cost to do, exactly what cards for which categories of purchases, and even things like how much in sign-up bonuses you'll encounter along the way in building the setup. Ultimately though, the big question that I have for you is, what are you willing to do and what cards are you willing to take on to make this happen? And at the end of the day, is it even worth it? Before I start revealing cards, I want to show you the ground rules that I set in place for myself that not only makes this setup achievable, but something that you could go out and get started on right now. First, our main goal is to maximize cashback or cashback equivalent in every single category, with the target number being at least 5% on every single thing you buy. In this, annual fee cards are fair game. However, I must personally justify to you exactly how to work down that annual fee card, so it's actually the best available option, even compared to the $0 annual fee ones out there. I'm not allowing any relationship bonuses like the Bank of America Preferred Rewards program. I want you to be able to start this setup now and not have to save something like $50,000 to $100,000 to tap back into those elite high earning cards. Finally, the last few, no more than 2 of the same card each. Player 2 cards are fine, but we're not going to get into any crazy and tough to replicate setups. No business cards whatsoever, and all cards that I mentioned must be publicly available today. Sorry, US Bank Altitude Reserve, I can't put you in this setup. Here are the categories I'm going to consider. This isn't every single possible thing you could buy. However, there is coverage for anything one way or another. Let's start off with grocery, typically the highest spend area for most Americans or American families. For this, we're tapping in the AmEx Gold card. The AmEx Gold card earns 4x back on grocery store purchases. I personally value Amex membership rewards points at 1.5 cents per point each, meaning that if you do the math, your earnings on the card plus the valuation of each point, effectively you're earning 6% back on every dollar you spend at the grocery store. Now, this number can realistically be achieved by transferring your points out to different partners and looking for some of those higher value international redemption flights. Now, I told you cards with annual fees have to be justified. Here's how I look at that. There's an $84 Dunkin' credit. I think you can get full value from this by using the gift card method in loading up those credits as you go. There's a $100 semi-annual Resi credit, which if you live in a more populated area, is essentially a free meal at a Resi participating restaurant. You also have the 120 in dining credits and Uber Cash, which admittedly I do like a lot less. However, I think you can work down that annual fee to something very manageable, and this should be the top choice for high spenders in the grocery store, and especially families that spend for multiple people. I will provide one backup card, and I'm not going to do this a lot on the list, but if you're a single person or your grocery expenses just aren't that high, I personally recommend the Amex Blue Cash Preferred here. That's 6% cash back on groceries, up to $6,000 of spend in the year, and that roughly breaks down to $500 a month. That card has a much lower annual fee. It starts off at $0 for a free introductory year before moving up to $95 a year. And the justification on that annual fee is quite simple. There's an $84 Disney bundle credit, and if you happen to use any of the services within the Disney bundle, that makes your effective annual fee just to hold that card at $11. What about the dining category? Well, having the Amex Gold already in place for the grocery store is going to make this choice extremely easy, as I suggest most people tap into the 4x membership rewards points in dining, valued again in my opinion at 6% cashback equivalent, and plug that same card in there. As for the annual fee, well, of course that same logic still applies. And you get a bit of simplicity by keeping your grocery and your dining cards as one in the same. What about travel? In my opinion, the most well-rounded, valuable premium travel card comes in here, and that's the Capital One Venture X. This earns an almost perfect 10x, 5x, 2x across the board. That's 10x on hotels and rental cars when purchased in the portal, 5x on flights when purchased in the portal, and then 2x on everything else. And I want to specifically focus on the 10x and the 5x on those travel related purchases. I personally value Capital One miles a little bit less than Amex membership rewards points. I see them holding a value of about 1.2 cents per mile, meaning you're earning effectively 6% back when you purchase flights in the portal and 12% back when you're purchasing hotels or rental cars within the portal. That's a pretty insane return on those usually very expensive purchases. Now, Capital One miles can be a little bit more difficult to use, which is why if you have the Venture X or you're looking at getting this card, I made a video dedicated to showing you how to redeem those miles to get the most possible value. And hey, the justification on this one is quite simple. $395 for a travel card is easily offset by their $300 annual travel credit and the 10,000 bonus miles that you get at the end of every card member anniversary. Let's get out of the big categories and start to get a little more specific. As for gas, you're going to want to tap in on the Citi Custom Cash card. This card is an easy gas choice for many people out there because it earns 5% back automatically assigned to your biggest spending category for that month, and gas is of course one of the possible categories. You are capped out at $500, which for most people seems to work really well for gas because they don't spend over $500 a month in that category, but a lot of people will start to approach that, meaning you're getting really good bang for your buck. This is our first cash back card to enter the chat today, but it certainly won't be our last. What about online shopping? This area can vary wildly from person to person and household to household. So I put a few options in here, but of course have one that I want to put forward as the best recommendation I can give you today for this goal of achieving 5% or more across the board. All things considered, the Bank of America Customized Cash Rewards Card is the best option that will work for most people. This is the first card that unfortunately doesn't hit my personal goal of getting us to 5%, as the BOA Customized Cash Card earns just 3% cash back on online purchases. However, it's such a broad category that I'm willing to sacrifice a little bit here. It also has a $0 annual fee, which makes it a really attractive add to me. If you want to stretch a little bit more for cash back on online shopping, well, the US Bank Shopper Rewards Card could be the right play given a specific situation. With this card, you get to pick 2 retailers, and there's a bunch of big common retailers that you can choose from. And in those 2 selected retailers, you'll earn 6% cashback rewards up to $1,500 in spend a quarter. Now, I don't love this card because it does charge a $95 annual fee after that first year. So you really have to max out those 2 6% earnings categories to get your money's worth. And that's just why I broadly don't recommend it. However, another backup option here in the online shopping category would be the Amazon Prime Visa card, and that's just because people spend so much money at Amazon, and it does do a really good job of taking care of pretty much anything you could want to buy. If you've got an Amazon Prime membership, you kind of have an annual fee here, as you're going to have to pay $139 to hold that membership. But your Prime card will trigger a 5% cashback return on everything you buy at Amazon. If you don't have an Amazon Prime membership, well, you could still get this card. However, that cashback return just comes in at 3%. For the sake of this chart, we are going with the Bank of America Customized Cash and accepting 3% flat on online purchases. What about utilities? Often monthly bills you get, set a card to, and just forget about. Well, the best card to pop in here is the $0 annual fee US Bank Cash Plus card. This card gets you 5% cash back on 2 categories of your choice, up to $2,000 a quarter, and utilities, being one of those categories, is just the perfect fit for this $0 annual fee credit card. What about home improvement? Admittedly, for a lot of people, we are getting into the smaller spending categories, and at this point, you may decide that getting some of the initial cards on this list are more worth your time, and leaving some of the other ones that we'll talk about here to wrap things up are just not worth going into that much effort. However, if you're still on the train of wanting to get 5% back on every dollar you spend, you're going to want a good home improvement card. For this category, I would bring back the US Bank Shopper card that we talked about that allows the 6% cash back on $1,500 in spend per quarter at retailers of your choice. When you've got retailers like Lowe's, Home Depot, and Ace, it's easy to cover your home improvement needs. And having been someone who just purchased a house with my wife, trust me, I know a thing or two about spending a ton of money on home improvement projects. Wrapping things up for catch-all cards, I recommend the Capital One Venture X. And if you're following this setup to a T, it's already a card that you have, and the 2x flat miles that you earn with a 1.2 cent per point valuation will give you a cashback equivalent of 2.4% on every non-category purchase that you go with. Last but not least, let's look at bonus categories. Here's an opportunity to have some fun if you somehow weren't already. And when you're looking at those final tweaks to polish off the perfect 5% plus wallet setup, well, you have to look at the Discover It card or the Chase Freedom Flex as your rotating category cards to fill in gaps that you may otherwise be missing. You may not use these a lot. However, sometimes they do cover oddly specific categories that could out-earn your existing fleet of cards that you got before adding these two. The last easy tip to maximize cash back return that I want to share with everybody is just to take the simple step to add Rakuten as a browser extension for free. Rakuten is like an extra cashback booster on top of the credit card earnings that you already get for shopping at different websites online. Using my link below in the description will get you a free $30 to start once you make your first purchase and get cash back through Rakuten, so it's a nice little bonus there. And if you've got an Amex card, you can link your Amex account and actually earn membership rewards points, thus making your cashback earnings even more valuable. Okay, let's look at the overall cashback rate. If you average every single card that I displayed in this setup, you're going to come back earning an average of 5.64% on any purchase you make. Now, I know your spending weights vary. Some people will spend a ton in travel, whereas others will spend a ton on dining, and that will realistically alter your overall rate of return. I'd encourage you to take the time to plug your own spending numbers into my credit card roadmap template, which is available for a free download at rdguarantee.com/guides. All right, well, that was a lot of fun. Now's the time to tally up and see what it's going to cost to build a setup like this. Fortunately, a lot of these cards are very specific, and because of that, banks aren't charging annual fees to hold them. That's a great thing, but there were some heavy hitters in this lineup, and it's time to look at the total annual fee load. Our biggest are in some of our most important categories. The AmEx Gold charges a $325 annual fee. The Venture X, our travel card, charges a $395 annual fee. And if you tap into the US Bank Shopper Rewards card, well, after year one, that's a $95 annual fee. Looking at this in whole, that's $815 in annual fees to take on the layout I just outlined. However, I only focused on adding credit cards to this lineup that were the best possible options with annual fees that could easily be overcome by the value in the credits within the cards. And of course, the multipliers are just icing on the cake. While you are taking on something in annual fees, you're also getting a lot back in sign-up bonuses. Just reviewing our list from top to bottom, for the Amex Gold, a really achievable sign-up bonus would be 80,000 membership rewards points, valued at about $1,200. The Capital One Venture X commonly comes in at 75,000 miles, and that to me is valued at $900 when redeemed for travel. With the Citi Custom Cash, that comes with a standard $200 sign-up bonus. The Bank of America Customized Cash Rewards card comes in at $200. US Bank Cash Plus card, same thing. US Bank Shopper card, we see at around $250. And the last ones on our list, the Venture X, you've already got. And the rotating category cards can vary with the Discover It, offering a cashback match in your first year, and the Freedom Flex around $200 as well. Not counting those bonus rotating cards, you're looking at a total sign-up bonus valuation of $2,950, and that's at a bare minimum in my mind. Of course, that's a ton of value, but you realistically can't get that all at once. So I want to briefly talk about this entire setup as a whole. So is getting 5% back on everything you buy worth it? For the select few, yes, it may be. And that difference would be evident after years and years and years of stacking those extra bits of cash back. However, for most of us out there, it's probably not worth going this extreme. getting a setup between 2 and 5 cards, which you can look at my channel for examples of exactly how to build that up. We'll come to about 90% of the effectiveness as an extreme 5% plus setup, and it'll be a whole lot easier. Let me know in the comments if you would actually try this or have gotten anything close. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.